Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ty's Picks. I'm here to bring you a recap of what we saw, everything we saw in Week 3. Uh, Later this week, be on the lookout. I'm going to bring you a Week 4 preview. But for right now, we're going to talk about everything we saw, the good, the bad, the ugly from last week. So let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? First up, I want to talk about the game of the week. Game day was here in Columbia. Boy, this one did not disappoint. I just want to throw out there, Carolina did cover. That's what I said. Take Carolina and the points. They should have won this game outright. 5 total turnovers, 2 for LSU, 3 for South Carolina. Lot of action, lot of maction going on. Biggest stat that jumps off the stat sheet here is South Carolina rushed for 243 yards on LSU's defense. They looked bad, man. They couldn't make an open field tackle. They couldn't wrap anybody up. South Carolina's offensive production slowed when Lenora Sellers went out of the game in the third quarter. If he doesn't leave the game, what does that final score look like? I don't know. But the biggest talking point from this game is definitely the officiating, how everything was handled, down the wire. Was the, the block on the quarterback after he throws the pick. He's no longer the quarterback. I digress. They called it the way they did. South Carolina loses by 3, but hey, we took Carolina in the points, so that's always a plus. Carolina probably should have won that game outright. I would be very wary of LSU, their defense, their ability to stop the run. Their secondary looked suspect. South Carolina had 2 pick sixes that were completely taken off the board, one in the first half, one right there at the end of the game. Of course, missed field goals are going to cost you, and that South Carolina kicker's got to be kicking himself, but the refs really kept LSU in the game long enough to win this one. But thank God we took the spread, right? On to the next. This was the Friday night game, Battle of the Wildcats here. I told you to take the spread in favor of K-State. If you were hesitant, take K-State money line. That's hey, we're looking at 2-0 right there. With that said, let me retract my statement that I made last week about Avery Johnson. This guy did not play great. He's a glorified running back there. He couldn't hit anything open down the field. Now, when he does throw the ball long, it looks great coming out of his hand, and it flies really straight through the air. But, oh, my gosh, is this guy not really – look, I was saying Heisman, no way, no shot. Maybe because the kid's young is why his decision making is so bad. But at the end of the first half, K-State's moving the football. They're already in field goal range. They snap the ball. There's like 8 seconds left on the clock. He scrambles around in the backfield long enough that the entirety of the play clock drains to 0. Then he runs out of bounds, so they don't even get to kick a field goal. I mean, he'll learn and he'll get better, but holy shit, that's a pretty elementary mistake there. On the other side of the ball, Arizona looking for Terriota McMillan early and often. He had 11 receptions for 138 yards. He's the reason for the first 7 points on the board, but after that, K-State really made it an effort to make sure that he didn't get any open looks. He was double-teamed. He was, put in press coverage all night long, and that really detracted from Arizona's game plan. I think Arizona's mediocre at best. I don't think they should be ranked. Their entire game plan is one guy, and if you limit yourself to being one-dimensional against an elite and even good defense, they're going to find a way to stop you. So K-State took care of business. They did what they needed to do to walk out of there with a win. Not much to break down other than didn't look good on behalf of Arizona and their defense. But K-State also, Avery Johnson didn't look amazing. Moving on, Alabama traveled to Wisconsin. And my pick here was Arizona against the spread, Alabama against the spread. Alabama covers. Not much to say here. 2 lost fumbles for the Badgers. Got to protect the football, but they were just outmatched by this Alabama team. And if you think this game looks different with Tyler Van Dyke staying in at quarterback, you might be delusional. I mean, Alabama were just better all around. And sure, we're playing a backup quarterback, but, come on. You guys wouldn't have been able to move the ball even if you had Tyler Van Dyke in there. So the entirety of the stadium cleared out after Wisconsin and played jump around to start the fourth quarter. Alabama was having a great time jumping around. They had a blast. Great time on the road. They looked really good. Yeah, I'm excited to see this Alabama team and what they look like going forward. Little preview, big matchup against Georgia coming this week at home in Tuscaloosa. I'll touch on that a little bit more later. Moving on to the next matchup. Oh, my fucking God. I never actually gave you a pick for this game last week. I never said this game's going one way or the other, take this line, whatever. And that was for good reason. We knew Arkansas State were not good, but holy fuck. I was not confident in this Michigan team to cover, and they didn't. They only won by 10. That's pretty embarrassing to say the least. One thing I want to bring up is that I did say, let's start Alex Orji. Let's give this guy a chance. They didn't do that. They started Davis Warren, and hey, in his defense, he didn't throw an incomplete pass, but he went 11 for 14 with 3 interceptions against Arkansas State. Yeah, needless to say, I don't know if we can look to him for serious production later on in the season. Maybe we change our offensive dynamic, start running the Wildcat, Alex Orji, Donovan Edwards, who, by the way, Donovan Edwards this season, 36 carries for 150 yards, supposed to be their guy. He's played 3 games, 150 yards. 50 yards a game, not the best look. Yeah, not much to break down here other than Michigan is who we thought they were, which is not very good. Moving on to a very interesting game that I gave you the correct pick for. Keeping on track with the winning picks, here's another one. Boston College plus the points. They keep the game within 6. We had them at 16.5. That's very great for us. Look, BC probably could have won this game outright. Like, they played a really good game. The Mizzou defense was a little bit better against the Boston College offense. But look, man, I got faith in Bill O'Brien. Look, he came in, he took the job. He's not really working with much as far as talent goes. You know, it's Boston College, right? They couldn't move the ball on the ground. That made him one-dimensional. I don't remember the exact stats. They had, 50 yards rushing or something like that. But I don't know. I don't really think Mizzou's a top 6 team in the country, man. They beat Boston College, and it wasn't convincing. They're very beatable. I think we see them lose 2 to 3 times this season. They got Alabama and Oklahoma on their schedule. I don't think they match up against either one of those teams particularly well. So that's automatically I'm giving them 2 losses. Maybe they let one slip through their fingers sometime in the season, but yeah, not really convinced with what I saw here out of Mizzou versus Boston College. And I thought the game, I thought taking BC at 16.5 would be a 2-score game, and they kept it within 6 points. So I think my Boston College stock is going up, and my Mizzou stock's going down there. Keeping it rolling, we're looking at Notre Dame versus Purdue. I don't really want to talk about this one. Not because I made a bad pick or anything, but I didn't learn anything from this game. I told you before, Purdue were not going to win this game, and Notre Dame went into it with something to prove, man. It doesn't change the fact that this Notre Dame team isn't good. They're bad, and they beat up on a bad team. Notre Dame, they don't really play any tough competition. Their only ranked opponents are Louisville and the University of South Carolina, the University of Southern California at the end of the season. The rest of their schedule is pretty much a cakewalk. So apart from those 2 games, it's probably their toughest competition. Maybe they lose to Louisville. Probably not, but in the USC game, they very likely that that game's up for grabs. So they could end the game. They could end the year with 2 losses. If they do they get into the playoff? I don't know. But losing to Northern Illinois, man, I don't want to see them later on in the year at all. All right, moving to Ole Miss, Wake Forest. Ole Miss covers in this one. Gave you the right pick on that. Yet another correct pick for me. Not a tough pick. I mean, it's pretty easy. This was going to be like a 4+ score game, and they had it at 22.5. So, look, their offense can move the ball. They got balance. They got a running attack. They got a passing attack. Their defense looks good, and Wake Forest aren't good. And I don't really think I need to overanalyze what happened there. They played Wake Forest, and that's what you're going to expect from the number 5 team in the country. Moving on to Texas hosting UTSA at home. Another correct pick for me. That 35.5 line looked pretty sketch, but honestly, I think this is one of the best games of the weekend, not because the game was great or anything like that. I mean, it's UTSA. But we saw Quinn Ewers get hurt, and lucky for Texas, it's not that bad. He won't be out that long. But even better news, I don't know if you heard of this guy that came in off the bench, Arch Manning. He's the real deal. I don't know which one of these quarterbacks is better. I think it's really a 1A, 1B because Arch came into the game, man, and he started balling. He can do it all. Move the ball with his arm, moved it with his legs, and let's not forget, this Texas team isn't just offense, right? They got a stout defense as well. They're going to be a problem. I expect, and it already happened because I'm getting this video out late on a Tuesday, Texas, number 1 team in the country. After the way Georgia performed, I don't think that's kind of any I don't think people are going to be upset about that, even if you're a Georgia fan. You didn't play well against Kentucky, so let's just leave it at that. Yeah, again, I'm not going to overanalyze this. Texas looked amazing. UTSA is UTSA, and that's where we're at. Speaking of the Georgia Bulldogs, wow, boy, was I wrong with this one. That's fine. We'll take the first loss of the weekend on a Georgia team who probably should have blown out Kentucky by more than 24 points, but the reality is they struggled, and Kentucky, maybe some questionable decision making to punt the ball away with 3 minutes left, down 1 point. But I'm not going to overreact here, right? This happens every year with the Bulldogs. They have a close game at the beginning of the season, in-conference game, that they probably should lose, but they win it, and then they end up winning out. I'm not concerned. They're going to figure it out. Kirby Smart knows what he's doing. But with that being said, they got to figure it out quick because they're traveling on the road to Tuscaloosa next weekend, and that's going to be a test. So hopefully they can figure it out sooner rather than later. Pray for them if they don't. I'm only going to glance at this one. Again, another correct pick. Told you Tennessee. Told you plus the points. Holy crap, that was an absolute slaughter. Start to finish, Tennessee even offered Kent State to play with a running clock in the second half. They said, nope, we're going to take our ass whooping like a man, and they did, and oh boy, that was a good one. Moving on to the backyard brawl. I didn't know they called that the backyard brawl until I started watching this game, and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of rings a bell. However, this game did deliver. By the way, told you take Pitt plus the points. They ended up covering outright. Tough fought, close win, lots of offense in this one. Defense, they kind of figured it out in the second half. And with a minute and some change left, Pitt walks down the field on the West Virginia defense, who just crumbled. You get a stop, you get any third and long, anything like that, you win the game. At worst, you hold up, you only let them get a field goal, you go to overtime. But no, they just sit back, they played soft zone, they let them walk down the field, and yeah, I would have liked to see him pressure the quarterback at the end there, but instead they were just playing prevent, and it bit him in the ass. So, this one. Okay, let's talk about this one. Florida, not just losing at home, but losing with style, man. They were outclassed by a not-so-great Texas A&M team with a backup quarterback. It was 20-0 at halftime. Texas A&M had 2 missed field goals, so tacked 6 more points out of the final score of this one. You had a Florida garbage time touchdown, but this was not as close as the score looked. I mean, Florida, they start the season 1-2. The fans are already calling for Billy Napier's job. I mean, it's not a good look. The rest of the season's kind of chalked. I mean, and this is a good bounce back for Texas A&M. Where they go from here, I don't really know. They probably have another 2 losses, maybe 1, 2 losses in the season. Florida probably looking at 3 or 4 losses. I mean, hey, you got Florida State at the end of the year, so hopefully you can win that one and save some face. But speaking of Florida State, I said going into this one, I said if you lose this, some people need to lose their jobs, and I stick by that. You want to talk about rough starts, look no further. I mean, I don't know if this Florida State team wins a game this year. I'm going to be honest. I think 3-2-1 Knowles has to eat the dog shit. I think there's some curse going on because you can't look at the FSU team, the talent on this team, and say, oh, yeah, they're going to lose to Memphis at home. That would have never been on anyone's mind, but yet here it is. They lost. Memphis got it done on the road. If you want some good laughs, man, just go on Twitter and see what people are saying about this team. It's not good. Congratulations to Memphis for coming in here and getting a win, but clearly this is not a good Florida State team, not even competitive in the slightest Florida State team. Like, hats off to Memphis here. You know, when you see the spread being 6.5 points, you got to be like, oh, something's going on there. But yeah, I mean, rightfully so. Nobody expected Memphis to win this game. They win it outright, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least for the rest of the season for this Florida State Seminoles team. Just touching up on quick run through here. The Illini cover, gave you that one. Washington State with an upset on the road, got that one wrong. Really like to see the Huskies, fight a little bit harder at home, but they didn't, and it is what it is. Vandy with a road loss to Georgia State. I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. Moving on, got that one wrong. ECU lose a close game at home that I stopped watching because I thought it was over. Unlucky on that one. App State goes in, gets the job done. TCU lose a close one at home, but cover, so we're still cover the spread there. Dion and his kids handle business on the road, pretty emphatic fashion against Colorado State, who didn't look good for all the shit they were talking online. Cal wins and covers. Boy, am I on fire with these picks this week. I think I only got 4 picks wrong, and 3 of them are on this screen. It's probably actually more than that I got wrong. But, it's not that many. It's a handful. I got the majority of the games right. Yeah, where am I at here? Yeah, Indiana goes out to UCLA, shows those Cali boys what's up, shows them what Big Ten football is all about. Yeah, I don't remember picking that game. I don't know if I did or not. On to games that I didn't mention, didn't have listed. Nebraska beats the University of Northern Illinois at home. Patrick Mahomes wannabe. He's the talk of the town. I think it's cringe. Yeah. All right, anyway, moving on. I wrote a whole lot more to say about that kid. I'm just going to move on. I don't think he deserves that much time and attention. Dylan Raiola, he's a decent quarterback, but the whole wannabe Patrick Mahomes thing is just kind of cringe. Utah did not cover against Utah State. Unfortunately, Cam Rising not going to be there. I don't know how long he's going to be out. I don't know if he's going to be back soon or not. But they certainly missed him. Their defense actually let up 21 points against Utah State, which I wasn't expecting. I expected them to be pretty good, but they got a win nonetheless. And a win's a win. That's the takeaway there from that one. Hopefully they clean it up going forward. Miami beats up on Ball State. Not much to say there. I mean, they looked like one of the best teams in the country, and the spread was like 30-something points, and I took them to spread, and they covered. So, yeah, again, nothing to be said. Oklahoma State win in Tulsa in convincing fashion. I still think they're ranked too high after that close call against Arkansas. Maybe Arkansas should be ranked. But I am kind of concerned for this Oklahoma State team going forward. I think they are good, don't get me wrong, but they have a susceptibility to getting beat. And I think, once they have to play tough competition and they're not playing fucking Tulsa, then I think that's really going to show. And I'd be on the lookout for this team and the lines being wrong on this Oklahoma State team going forward. Tulane didn't look good against their loss in Oklahoma. I thought they were going to cover the spread. They let me down. Yeah, I turned this game off in the second quarter because I knew it was over. They couldn't really move the ball, but yeah, unfortunate on their behalf. With that being said, I'm going to be back later this week with my Week 4 picks, breakdown, analysis, what I think. I'm going to start trying to get these videos, the weekly recap or like reflection on what we saw the past week. I'm trying to get these out on like Sunday, maybe Monday at the latest. Kind of missed the curve on it this week. It's fine. I'll be back. I'll be better. Don't worry. So stay tuned. Look towards Thursday for a preview of next weekend's games. A lot of good stuff to cover in there. You're gonna want to be there. Don't want to miss it. A lot of good games. A lot of good ball that's gonna be played next weekend. And I got some spicy picks for that one. So. Tune in, please. If you get a chance, like the video, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thank you.